I'm gonna look at what Rahab means as well. All right, testing. Testing audio. Testing audio. Okay, we're good to go. All right, Shalom.
Shalom.
First and foremost, we want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who root and teach well. Wa Barakathum, unto the hopeful elect. All right, this is GMS Dallas Younger Bros. We got our Sunday class we normally do, and the new setup we're doing is we're going over a particular chapter together, and we're going over the book of Joshua, which they went over Joshua the first chapter last week. I was out of town, so I wasn't available, but now it's on me. We're going into Joshua the second chapter, right? Which this goes into us basically after we got delivered out of Egypt. The Lord gave all the power to Moses. He said, not Moses. Moses gave the power to Joshua, right? Which matter of fact, we'll get that just for edification's sake. That chapter, I believe, is Deuteronomy 29. Let me see. We get the King James pulled up. We're gonna show that real quick just to go into a little bit of history, so you have understanding on what was going on. Because Moses got to the point where he wasn't gonna make it to the promised land, and he transitioned to power, and that's when Joshua got his name. His name wasn't Hosea no more; it became Joshua. Now let's go to Deuteronomy. I believe it's the 29 or it's 30 or somewhere up in there. I think it's 29. Let's check it out. Let's see here. Nope, it's in the 30s. I'm gonna type it in real quick. Let's see. And I'm gonna share the screen so y'all can see me pulling it up too. No. Okay, let me see here. I'm gonna do this right here. All right. That's Numbers, but it's another one. Deuteronomy 32. Okay, 32. See it, 32 or 31. Let me see. Let's go to it. Deuteronomy 32. Because it basically is in this chapter. This is probably gonna say it, but the one I'm looking for is when the Lord was talking to Moses. Well, let's see what this says here. This Deuteronomy 32. Nah, this ain't it. Let me go to the chapter before. I believe it's 30. Let's see here. I know what to type in. If you got anything like you want to add on, you can add on as well. Let me see. I know I need to put. Lord tells Moses won't go to the promised land. Let's see where it's at. And it's at the beginning of the chat. That's how I know it's not it. That let me see here. Because it says it more at the beginning. I'll look at 32. I don't think it's 32 and 52. Let me see. Let me go back. Okay, let's go back to the King James. I'll find it. And before I get that also as well, I'm going to get this right here pulled up. The symbolic importance of us even going to get that land. You know, we were trying to get those because that's going towards the mountainous regions. That's right over there by the Jordan River. When you look at where Jericho was, which matter of fact, let's get a picture of that. Time of Joshua. All right, let me get a picture of it. Okay, let's see here. All right, here we go. Right by the Dead Sea. If I can get this thing to zoom in. Okay, no. Let me click the picture. All right, let me just visit. All right, I'm going to get this picture pulled up right here to show. All right, there we go. Let me share the screen here. Satan got it where don't want to zoom in like that. All right, Ayak, are you able to see this on the screen well? Hey, Shalom, Yabba Shabrakatah. Because I was walking the building.
My bad.
Yep.
Yeah.
Kind.
Never see it.
Yeah. So we were basically trying to. This chapter goes into us trying to get over this region, and it was important for us to get control over this because it basically had the great agriculture there, and we were able to see these other nations. So we had an advantage when it came to battle. So that's why we were trying to take over this region. That's why the Lord ultimately gave us that land. You know that land had many great benefits. That's why all these other nations wanted the land as well, and they still fighting over it to this day. So now let me go to this right here on the Chat GBT. When you go into it right here, I looked up what was the importance of taking over Jericho. Let me go to the first one I had. It says a strategic location. It says gateway to the heart of Canaan. Jericho sat near the Jordan River in a fertile oasis, controlling the main routes into the central highlands where much of Canaan's power was centered. You see? So ultimately, it gave you more better parts for the trade. Then you go right here, it says trade and military hub. Whosoever controlled Jericho could control east and west movement between Jordan Valley and the highland cities like Ai, Bethel, and Jerusalem, which that's like when you go on this map, they call it the central. Let me go back. When you go into this map right here, that's where you see this hill country. That's like that was like probably the top part. You see, great agriculture. It was real mountainous, so you could see the rest of those the enemies. So that's why our Lord wanted us to get that land. And we was also gonna learn battle as well within this process. Now let's go here. This is the two symbolic importance. It says first fruits of conquest. Jericho was the first city Israel captured after crossing the Jordan, symbolizing that the rest of the land would follow. So it even had a spiritual aspect of it. You see? Because like basically all the stuff that was over there, Lord, if we get dedicated to the Lord, it'd be like a first fruit sacrifice. This verse, next chapter, it says total dedication to the Heavenly Father. It says the Heavenly Father commanded that everything in Jericho be destroyed. So destroy all the idols, all that BS that those nations was doing, and what else? Or devoted to Him. It became a type of first fruit offering of the land, showing that victory came from the Heavenly Father and not by human power. Because we go into this story, you know, we was playing the music, and then it made them the walls came down. The Lord showed His power to break them walls down. It says breaking enemies' morale. It says Jericho's walls were considered impenetrable. When the Heavenly Father caused them to fall, it sent a shockwave of fear through Canaan. Right. So that's just a little backdrop I wanted to get before we go into the chapter, Joshua chapter 2. It's a little bit of history, but you got it pulled up.
But Joshua,
Kind of Joshua chapter 2.
yeah, I
Is,
got it.
is it close enough on here for you to read it?
I mean, it's cool. I mean, it is. But
Kind,
I'm also looking at my phone too.
kind for sure.
All right.
And
Well,
matter of fact, let's get I'm gonna get Rahab before we do get started. I'm gonna get what the word Rahab means, because also when you go into this chapter, Rahab is also like an example of like a friend of the prophets. She helped the prophets out, and then she got mercy from that.
mm-hmm.
See, so that's another aspect of the scriptures we can go into in this chapter as well. You know, she basically got delivered because she helped the men of the Lord out to help spy out the land. Okay, let's get this right here. It
Mm-hmm.
says Rahab. You see, and it says wide. It says a harlot who aided spies to escape from the destruction of Jericho, married Salmon, an ancestor of David and of Yahushua Mashiach, commended for her faith in the book of James. Also, hey, her brother had picked her up. The men of the Lord got with her. Okay. All right.
Hmm.
See, you learn something new. Hey, you learn something new every time in this truth, man. It's always continual growth. It's an
Mm-hmm.
everlasting gospel. But yeah, so it says wide for a definition. Now without further ado, we can go ahead and get started.
Yeah. All right. This is Joshua chapter 2 and verse 1. It says, um, and Joshua the son of Nun sent out of Shittim 2 men to spy secretly, saying, "Go view the land, even Jericho." And they went and came into an harlot's house named Rahab and lodged there.
Yeah, so he sent spies out. So ultimately that's ultimately what you would do. That's why like, that's something in our culture we did. We had watchmen, We'll send men out to spy out the land and see like how the land looked and all that stuff who we were gonna go into battle against. And we also know about the story of in Numbers where you had those men that gave that bad report. They were scared of the Anak. I believe it's Numbers the 12th chapter. They were scared of those Hamites, so they gave a false report. You see, but then you had what? We're looking at Joshua right now, which his name was Hosea at first. You see, and then you had Caleb. They gave the good report. But this right here, he gave 2 men to spy out the land. You got it, bro.
Down verse 2. It says, and it was told the king of Jericho, saying, behold, there came men in hither tonight of the children of Israel to search out the country.
So hey, basically, they knew. They knew all hell no. It's like dudes trying to take over, take our land away from us. You see, because it was a lot of Ham, it was a lot of Canaanites that was in our land. You got it, bro.
Verse 3 says, and the king of Jericho sent unto Rahab, saying, bring forth the men that are come to thee, which are entered into thine house, for they be come to search out all the country.
Keep going.
And the woman took the 2 men and hid them, and said, thus there came one unto me, but I wist not whence they were.
We can get that in NLT. I'll pull it right here.
Yeah. Joshua chapter 2 and verse 4 in the NLT says, Rahab had hidden the 2 men, but she replied, yes, the men were here earlier, but I didn't know where they were from. Verse 5 says, they left in the NLT, it says they left the town at dusk as the gates were about to close. I don't know where they went. If you hurry, you can probably catch up with them.
Yeah, so she basically covered for them.
Mm-hmm.
You see, now what does that remind you of? I had a quick precept, real quick. You see, because these were servants of the Lord, these men of the Lord. They were men that was following Joshua. Because when you follow in the order that the Lord set up, that's part of how you serve Yahweh Shah, by following the men that He set up. Now let's get this right here. I ain't read this precept in a minute. I'm about to type it in on Google real quick. Let's see, we get it right here. This I ain't heard this one in a minute. This in Proverbs. All right, here we go. All right, this is Proverbs 16 and verse 7. You pull it up here and then share the tab. All right, this is Proverbs 16 and 7. It says, when a man's ways please Yahweh Shai, he maketh even his enemies to be at peace with him. So she wasn't supposed to be helping them. But the Lord was with those men. So then he had his help to where she was peaceful with them. See? But you got it, bro.
It's like, my bad, I had to grab something.
No, you good.
Back in Joshua chapter 2, and we have verse 6, back in the KJV, I'm assuming.
Yep.
All right, back in the KJV, it says, but she had brought them up to the roof of the house and hid them, with the stalks of flax, which she had laid in order upon the roof.
And that's one of the customs that we had back in ancient times, having flat roofs, roofs to the homes. Right? And I want to get this right here. This is something that you go into the manners and customs. Right? God, come on. Well, it's not letting me zoom in. I can see it though. It says Joshua 2 and 6. She had brought them up to the roof of the house and hid them with the stalks of flax, which she had laid upon the roof. In a way, and the reason that was possible is because a current roof in these current times is going downward, but they had flat roofs back then. This is the part it says the flat roofs of the eastern homes, being exposed to sun and air, are well adapted for reception of grain and fruit, which may be placed there to ripen or be dried. The flax stalks piled up on the roof to dry the sunshine would afford a very good hiding place for the spies. Now the example is right here. Let me zoom in more. And no, it's not saved. Wait, let me see. Oh, there we go. Okay, kind of. You can kind of see how this is there. That's like a flat roof, and then it kind of looks kind of similar to what that straw would be like. But see, it was something similar to that. They were hiding under that on the flat part of the roof. She was able to hide them on it just to get a visual example. We can continue on.
Yeah. Back in Joshua chapter 2, now we're verse 7. It says, And then men pursued after them the way to the Jordan unto the fords, and as soon as they which pursued after them were gone out, they shut the gate.
So yeah, the men, it was men that was coming after him. But she led them the wrong way because they was hiding on top of her roof. You see? So this ultimately she was helping the men of the Lord out. This was an act of charity. You got it, bro.
Okay. Back in Joshua chapter 2 and verse 8, it says, And before they were laid down, she came up onto them onto the roof, and she said unto the men, I know that Yahweh has given you the land, that your terror is fallen upon us, and that all the inhabitants of the land faint because of you.
Yeah, the nations were scared because they knew that if the Lord was with us, they knew that they didn't stand a fucking chance. They knew that they was all niggas and these young dudes now they say you cooked. They was like it was like she was like we cooked, right? But it also shows you the reverence that she had for the men of the Lord,
Mm-hmm.
which we gotta have that in these current times. Which I'm gonna get this precept real quick. Let me see. She prophet. All right, let me get this real quick. And also, you already know if you got something, you can bring it out, bro.
Okay.
This is Matthew 10 and verse 41. Let me share the tab. It says, He that receiveth a prophet in the name of a prophet shall receive a prophet's reward. And he that receiveth a righteous man in the name of a righteous man shall receive a righteous man reward. Yep. Oh, they're gonna point right here. So ultimately, you're doing well towards the Lord's sheep, the Lord's men, His servants. What does the scripture say? Do my prophets no harm. Now, what does this say right here, though? It's Matthew 10 and 42. It says, Whosoever shall give drink to one of these little ones a cup of cold water only in the name of a disciple, verily I say unto you, he shall in no wise lose his reward. You see? So there's a reward within how you treating the Lord's servants, the Lord's men. And hey, the Lord gave her the spirit to actually understand that. That's why she was scared. She said, I'm helping these guys out. I don't want the Lord to fall upon me. See? So that's something that we can learn from in this current time by making sure we're treating the Lord's servants correctly. You got it, bro.
Okay. Back in Joshua chapter 2 and verse 10, it says, For we have heard how Yahweh dried up the water of the Red Sea for you when you came out of Egypt, and what ye did unto the two kings of the Amorites that were on the other side of Jordan, Shiloh and Og.
That said Sihon.
Oh, my bad. I said Shiloh, I'm tripping. Yeah, Sihon and Og, whom ye utterly destroyed.
Yeah, because the Lord came up, the Lord gave us, Lord was with us when we were going into battle with these other nations, it's including Egypt. That's why the Lord jacked up Egypt as such with all the plagues and all that judgment because the Lord was against those nations. You see, and he always has been. And that's why in this current time, these nations are going to learn the way they thought back then, they're going to come back to that mindset, which I'm going to get this quick precept real quick.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see here. What is that? Let's go to Jude, the 5th chapter.
Hmm.
I believe we're going, I believe it's like verse 20 and the 20 something. Let me see here. I'll find it. This is Judah chapter 5 and verse, let's see here. I'm gonna start at verse 19. This is Judah chapter 5 and verse 19. It says, Judah chapter 5 and verse 17. It says, And whilst they sinned not before their power, they prospered, because the power that hated iniquity was with them. You see, this is a nation that kills one of these heathens. And they were trying to get ready to come and attack us, but then this guy stood up and was like, hey, they God is with them, then leave them motherfuckers alone. Leave them
Mm-hmm.
Israelites alone. When you continue on, it says verse 18, but when they departed from the way which he had appointed them, they were destroyed in many battles, very sore, and were led captives into a land which was not theirs, and the temple of their power was cast to the ground, and their cities were taken by enemies. You see, which that's happened in these various captivities. You read about and what is that, Luke? believe that's 21 or 24, where it says we shall be trodden down by the Gentiles until the time be fulfilled. Loose paraphrasing. So we're gonna we're gonna be in a position of servitude towards these nations
Yep.
as a punishment from our Lord. Whenever our Lord is not with us, that's how these nations are able to take over our nation. But when the Lord is with us, then the Lord is gonna have that standard on us. He's gonna have that protection over us to where they can't take over us. You see, because the battle is of the Lord. That's what King David said. The battle is of the Lord. So no matter how well outnumbered somebody is in battle, if the Lord wants that person to win, He can make something happen to where they win. You see,
Yep.
and that's because when you look at it from a carnal aspect, Israel as a nation, we're more powerful, way more powerful than any other nations. As far as when it comes to our like how our vigor, our ability to go through pain, you see our mental fortitude, all of that, we're way more powerful than all these nations. But the Lord, He judged us and set it up to where he made it to where they were able to take us over. But if you look at it from a physical standpoint, it's like how? It's because the Lord wanted us to go down. Now this is Judith 5:19. It says, "But now are they returned to their power and are come up from the places where they were scattered, and have possessed Jerusalem where their sanctuary is, and are seated in the hill country, which that's spiritual. It says it right here, because we just broke that down.
Mm-hmm.
You see that like them taking over Jericho was gonna make it to where it'll be easier to get to them hill countries like okay, Warga just joined in. There we go. Shalom, brother Warga in the building. But yeah, basically we just broke that down earlier. How these hill country, you see, we'll be able to take over those various parts. Which matter of fact, I want to get that pulled up one more time because I'm happy it showed that right there. Let's pull this. Let's get this map again, real quick, Salakia. Because that's that. Like basically, Jericho is gonna lead us to that area. Let me get. Come on, man. Satan making it where I don't want to show it. I'm back on this little website to get that map pulled up real quick again. Okay, let's go back down. Where is that map at? There we go. So hill countries like Bethel, Ai. This is why we was trying to get these parts. Come on, man. Why is it zooming in right here? There we go. So Jericho is right here, but it's leading us to the hill country, which that's the land everybody wanted. Jordan here, Bethel, Ai, all this stuff, all this region over here. It's that hill country. And what does that hill country have? Great agriculture. It's on a mountain, so it's hard to be attacked by other animals. They can see everything. So yeah. Now let's go back to this. We were just reading. This is Judith 5, and where we at verse 19. It says, "Where they were scattered and have possessed Jerusalem, where their sanctuary is, and are seated in the hill country, for it was desolate. Now therefore, my Lord and Governor, if there be any error in his people, and they sin against their power, let us consider that this shall be their ruin, and let us go up, and we shall overcome them." See, so the nations knew that when the Lord is with us, like we just read right here, hey, Rahab knew because she was quoting all the stuff. We were just reading Joshua 10 and 2 and 10, and she was just stating a lot of the judgments the Lord had us do to these nations. So these nations know that when the Lord is with us, there ain't no attacking us. And then let's read verse 21. It says, "But if there be no iniquity in their nation, let my Lord now pass by, lest their Lord defend them and their power before them, and we become a reproach before all the world." You see? So hey, these nations had an understanding of that. And we see that being shown and exemplified right here by Rahab. She knew. So if y'all ain't got nothing, we can go back to Judges 10 and 11, or whatever. If we didn't finish out 10.
This is Joshua chapter 2 and verse
It's
11.
like I said, Judges. I mean Joshua.
Name's all good. Joshua chapter 2 and verse 11. It says, and as soon as we had heard these things, our hearts did melt. Neither did there remain any more courage in any man because of you. For Yahweh your God, He is God in heaven above and in earth beneath.
Yeah, the Lord controls who wins that battle. It ain't about men. That's why you go into the book of Maccabees, they were outnumbered in a lot of those battles. If you're looking at it from a carnal aspect, there was no way the Maccabees should have won a lot of them battles, but it was because the Lord was with them. You see? And you had examples of that even like some chapters above this. Lord having fire come down from heaven, stuff like that. The Lord is over above all logic. See? You got it, bro.
God, if I can make a quick point, because it really shows how, man, once the Lord name gets magnified, once again, because it's not magnified right now, that it's going to be putting nothing but straight fear in all of these nations, right? It makes me think about that movie. I think it's Thor. I think it was Thor: Love and Thunder, like the ending part of it when Odin said like they done forgotten us. They think we're a joke. Let's remind them like who we are. Like how I forgot how they exactly said it, but it was something along them terms. Because basically the world is clearly completely forgotten about Yahweh Bashem Shai, and nobody fears him. But in this time, the Lord, he was known by what the judgment that he executed, mainly with Exodus onto Pharaoh, right? Them plagues and whatnot. Hell, I mean, Rahab already said, like, man, we heard about all of these things. It's gonna be the exact same way when the Lord gets us out of here, gets the elect out of here, right? And it's Exodus part 2, man. It's gonna be the name of the Lord is gonna be a pretty much to be feared amongst all the nations again. That's all I had to say.
I had a quick one. This is Deuteronomy 28, 9 and 10. And this is a part of whenever come back to the blessings, we come back into the new covenant. Because we had moments of this, you see, where we were blessed. But guess what? We were in this flesh, we started going off. So that sin came, guess what happened? Death came, captivity, judgment. When we get the new bodies, we're gonna be able to fully fulfill the first verses of Deuteronomy 28, like 1 through 14. But this is 9 and 10. It says, Yahweh shall establish thee an holy people unto himself. That means a separate people, sanctified people. You see, we're all gonna be likened unto like priests, kings and priests. It says, as he has sworn unto thee, if thou shalt keep the commandments of Yahweh by thy power and walk in his ways, which in the new covenant, we'll be able to do that 100%. But this is the point right here. Deuteronomy 28 and 10, it says, and all the people of the earth shall see that thou art called by the name of Yahweh by and they shall be afraid of thee. Let me get that word afraid, because they're going to know. They're going to see us in that glorified, powerful position, and they ain't gonna want no smoke. That's how Jake talked down south. I don't want no smoke. This is right here it says Yara. Yara, and it says right here it says to fear, to revere, to be afraid, to stand in awe of, to be awed. It says to be fearful, dreadful, to be feared, to cause astonishment and awe, to make afraid, to be terrified. They're gonna be terrified of us. You see? They're gonna fear and tremble because they're really scared right now. But it's gonna when we really have our and that's not even in our glorified position. When we get in our glory, it's gonna be a whole nother type of fear. Because even right now, you'll see a lot of these heathen nations. They'll come around Jake and they'll be all nervous and shaking and talking all weird. You know what I'm saying? Nigga about to have a panic attack. You see what I'm saying? But that's on a small level. We're not even in our glorified estate. When we in that godly glorified estate, they're gonna really be scared of us. But you got it, bro.
I got a precept there on mine.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Could you get? I'm gonna just get the one Gadar I quoted real quick. Psalms 9 and 16.
Bet.
Because going to this point, as the priest mentioned, the reputation of the Lord was magnified throughout the earth from the particular judgments he was doing in earth, chiefly going to the judgment that he bestowed upon Egypt. You know, that magnified the Lord's name. And even before that, because the Lord Yahweh Shai, he had a title already, and the title was Alashadja, which in the English that'll be what that means, great demon like power. So there's already understanding of the power of the Lord, but that thing that he did in Egypt was just another aspect of him magnifying his name throughout the four. Well, at that time, throughout the earth, the known world at that time, his name was magnified. That's why, after reading Rahab, she acknowledged that, like, we've heard the rumors, we've heard the power that's in Israel is the true living power. So you can read that, and I got like two more. And y'all got it.
This
Well,
Psalms
I
9
read
and
it.
6. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I read it. It's like this is Psalms 9 and 16. It says, the Lord Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, is known by his judgment, which he executeth. The wicked is snared in the work of his own hands. Higayon Salah. You see, so like I said, the Lord is known by his judgment. This is part of the Lord's reputation. When you think about the name Yahweh, why Yahweh Shai comes along with a reputation. And we know that reputation, this is the God that flooded the earth. This is the God in Rahab time period. This is the power that brought 12, that systematically broke down Egypt, bringing 12 plagues upon Egypt. And he didn't stop there. He split the Red Sea and had it enclosed and encaved upon what is it called? The Egyptians. And even when you have if I'm not mistaken, as Israel was in the wilderness and they was I think they came across another Canaanite nation. The Lord was with them then. You see, so these are particular things that pretty much stamp the reputation of the Lord in the brains of the heathen. They understood like, oh shit. And that's why like Rahab, she acknowledged, she said that. And she was like, let me use wisdom and be a help unto these men. Perhaps she might receive mercy. But I had another one too.
God.
So this is gonna happen because this is gonna happen when the Lord destroyed Babylon the Great America. You see. So could you get Jeremiah 23:7?
Yeah, I already got it right. Let's see here. All right, here we go.
All right, it's, Jeremiah 23 and verse 7, it says, therefore, behold, the days cometh, said the Lord Yahweh, that they shall no more say, the Lord liveth, which brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt, right? And could you read the next verse, Baba Shah?
Yeah, I got you.
What could you go to the
Pull
next
it back
verse?
on the screen.
Yeah, and it says, but the Lord liveth, which brought up but the Lord liveth, was brought up, and which led the seed of the house of Israel out of the north country, and from all the countries whither I have driven them, and they shall dwell in their own land. You see, so this is going for the aspect of you got to think about it because the heathens, that reputation of the Lord has been blotted out of the earth right now. Right now, that's why the heathens are acting the way they act. That's why Esau's so prideful because that reputation of the Lord has been blotted out. They will always have you watch the Exodus movies, going into Exodus and Egypt being destroyed by the 12 plagues, but essentially the heathens don't really view the Lord as the omnipotent, only living power right now. They don't, because they did. Their actions will show. You see, the wicked of the nation Israel don't. But we come into that time where the Lord's gonna make His name back glorified in the earth. You see, it's gonna be back glorified on earth like it was in the time of Egypt. And that's what during the time of Egypt, that's what happened. They went to Jericho, and Rahab was like, "Shit, the Lord, hey, the Lord, the true living power is with y'all." You see, and I brought fear upon her. That brought fear upon all them nations. Because I think when you read throughout Joshua, it kind of it's a certain point that they keep reiterating where pretty much be like, we have heard. If I'm not mistaken, it's like that. But in other words, and essentially, it's them saying that we understand that your power is a true living power, right? So I got one more, and y'all get back to it. Salam. But could you get Sirach 36 in verse 5?
Yeah.
All right, this is Sirach, also known as Ecclesiastes, chapter 36, verse 5. And let them know thee as we have known thee, that there is no power but only thou, O Yahweh Bashmashah. You see, and that's pretty much what happened. The heathens knew the Lord how we knew him. They understood because think about it. Those Canaanites, you don't think they had all those different gods? A lot of the Esau pretty much hijacked a lot of the Canaanite gods, man, and initiated into his kingdom. So a lot of the Canaanites had a lot of gods, you see, that they was worshiping, a lot of idols, a lot of deities, demons. But when the Lord, when he did that judgment in Egypt, he solidified. But I'm the true living power. I'm the apex. And through the prosperity of Yahweh, we know that the nation of Israel, that generation, and Joshua and Caleb, they knew that the Lord was the apex. He was the only living power. But the heathen nations didn't know that, and they was pretty much brought up on game when what the Lord did in Egypt, and that's what pretty much Rahab, she acknowledged that. Okay, that's not these Canaanites, guys that I've been worshiping. That's the true living power right there. The power that is in the nation of Israel. But that's all I had.
God, we can go back.
Yeah. This is Joshua chapter 2.
And before we do go,
And
that precept that I was looking for was Deuteronomy 31. Cause I want to get that real quick because we basically had a little backdrop getting a video. Went into like a little bit of the history of what was going on. So I want to pull this real quick. This is Deuteronomy 31. I'm gonna get verse 17. And it says here, well, a little bit before 17 actually. Here we go to point. Deuteronomy 31 and 14. It says, Israel shall fall away. Right? So Moses had got revealed to him that we was gonna fall short according to the first covenant. That we was gonna start going off. But let's read it though. I want to get this point because we're going into Joshua, and this basically kind of shows the position Joshua is going to be given. It says Deuteronomy 31 and 14. It says, and Yahweh Shem Shah said unto Moses, Behold, thy day is approached that thou must die. Call Joshua and present yourselves in the tabernacle of the congregation, that I might give him a charge. So Joshua was basically given the position that Moses had to like lead and be that mediator, and to the Lord dealing with Joshua to lead us. It says, and Moses and Joshua went and presented themselves in the tabernacle of the congregation. It says, and Yahweh Shem Shah appeared in the tabernacle in a pillar of a cloud, and the pillar of a cloud stood over the door of a tabernacle. You see, it says, and Yahweh Shem Shah said unto Moses, Behold, thou shalt sleep with thy fathers, and this people will rise up and go a whoring after the gods of the strangers of the land, whither they be, whither they go to be among them, and will forsake me and break my covenant which I have made with them. Right? So it was prophesied that we're gonna fuck up already. But the point I wanted to get into is that basically, hey, Joshua knew too. Which we're reading the chapter of his, like basically his testimony, what he went through. You see? But Joshua knew too. He was there when the Lord told Moses that. But we can go back. That's the precept I was looking for, by the way. Because earlier I was looking for it, and then Satan was having where it wasn't popping up when I was typing it in. But you got it, bro. Get all.
yeah, this is Joshua chapter 2. And we have verse 12. It says, Now therefore I pray you, swear unto me by Yahweh, since I have showed you kindness, that ye will also show kindness unto my father's house, and give me a true token, and that ye all save alive my father and my mother and my brethren and my sisters and all that they have, and deliver our lives from death.
Now we just read earlier about basically if you receiving a prophet, you see, and if you give a prophet water, then your reward won't be forgotten. That was Matthew the 10th chapter at the bottom. So basically, we see an example of this right here. She did the men of the Lord well, and guess what? She got recompensed. She got delivered. Versus you're gonna have people that do the men of the Lord wrong. Like the one example that comes to mind is Elisha, when the kid said bald head, they talk shit to him. He put curses on him, and the Lord had she bearers maul them. So the way you deal with the prophets and the people, the men the Lord is dealing with, it matters. You see, that could you can get jacked up for not treating the men of the Lord correctly. Because imagine if she would have not did this action that she did, her family would have got fucked up when they went. Hey, her family would have been cooked. But she got delivered from that. You got it, bro.
God. Back in Joshua chapter 2 and verse 14, it says, And then man answered her, Our life for yours, if ye utter not this our business, and it shall be, when Yahweh hath given us the land, that we will deal kindly and truly with thee.
So basically, if they shield up her end of the bargain, they'll be cool. They'll be cool with her. They'll be all right. They'll get the ability to make it. So that's something we had the same way. That's why you're gonna have friends of the prophets and people that may have not, the Lord didn't get a spirit to really come in, but if they did the prophets correctly, they'll eventually fall in line and follow, and the Lord will accept them because of how they treated the men of the Lord. So that could very well happen. It's gonna be certain people that may have treated the men of the Lord correctly, real good, and the Lord will accept them because of that, and they'll come in at the last hour. Some friends of the prophet. So we'll see how it's gonna be beautiful to see how the spirit have that work. But we just pray we stay on track, stay on point. But you got it, bro.
God, verse 15, it says, Then she let them down by a cord through the window for her house was upon the town wall, and she dwelt upon the wall. And she said unto them, Get you to the mountain, lest the pursuers meet you, and hide yourselves there 3 days until the pursuers be returned, and afterward may ye go your way.
Mm-hmm.
And the man said unto her, We will be blameless of this thine oath, which thou hast made us swear. Behold, when we come into the land that thou the land, thou shalt bind this line of scarlet thread in the window which thou didst let us down by, and thou shalt bring thy father and thy mother and thy brethren and all thy father's household home unto thee.
And that kind of reminds me of when we put the blood on a doorpost.
Mm-hmm.
You see, he said put that line of scarlet thread upon the window, and then make sure they in the house, and then they will be preserved. You see, but ultimately, it really just shows the Lord showed Lord in this example. The Lord showed the importance of how you treat his men, the men that he's dealing with. Because it's gonna be a lot of people who they scoffed at the men of the Lord. They treated them like shit. They turned them in. You dealt wrong with particular brothers. You may have made a brother lose his job. You had certain Israelite groups calling brothers' jobs, lying on them, and doing all that stuff. They're not gonna get this kind of mercy in these times that we're coming into. You see, so the way we treating the fellow believers and brothers, it's important. But you got it, bro.
God.
If I'm gonna make a point too,
Oh yeah, go ahead.
because I remember earlier after Zach said this, when you look at a lot of these times when the scriptures do mention like a lot of these women, at the same time too, it's a, similitude of the nation of Israel, because Rahab, she was a harlot. She was a harlot, and out of Jericho, she the only one that got saved, her and her family. And you can kind of tie that to nation Israel, because when we was that harlot that was cast away, but through of course, through Yahweh Shai, our obedience coming back to the Father, we're gonna receive salvation, and that's pretty much what it is for the case for Ahab, because they gave her pretty much specific things you got to follow if you want to receive that salvation, your obedience. So, like you said, it also shows you how Lord is big on obedience. You see.
You got it, bro.
Sorry. This is Joshua chapter 2 and verse 19. Did I read 18 already?
Now, yeah, you read 18, it's 19.
All right, yeah. All right, verse 19. It says, And it shall be that whosoever shall go out of the doors of thy house into the street, his blood shall be upon his head, and we will be guiltless. And whosoever shall be with thee in the house, his blood shall be on our head, if any hand be upon him.
So basically, they was withholding that oath that they made. You see, if she followed those instructions, then they'll pass over her house and they'll go judge other people. You got it, bro.
Yep. Says, and verse 20 says, And if thou utter this our business, then we will be quit of thine oath which thou hast made us to swear. And she said, According unto your words, so be it. And she sent them away, and they departed, and she bound the scarlet line in the window.
Mm-hmm.
And they went and came unto the mountain, and abode there 3 days until the pursuers were returned. And the pursuers sought them throughout all the way, but found them not. So the two men returned and descended from the mountain and passed over, and came to Joshua the son of Nun, and told him all the things that befell them. And they said unto Joshua, Truly Yahweh have delivered into our hands all the land, for even all the inhabitants of the country do faint because of us.
So they gave that good report. You see, and the Lord made sure, like we read earlier, the Lord made somebody be at peace with them. When a man's ways please the Lord, he maketh even his enemy to be at peace. Which we read earlier. So they helped them out. You see. Now we already know what actually happened to Jericho. Salakia. We already know what actually happened to Jericho. You see, but she got delivered because of how she treated the men of the Lord, right? But basically, just to give like a little summary on what we went into in this lesson, we ultimately went into the importance of taking over that land. You know, getting that east and west portion so he can lead you to the hill country, the eye and the those different portions. I believe it's Beck. I forgot to say it, but basically at those different lands that like you get control of those mountainous regions. That's like really big. You see, so it was big for us to get that hill country back in control. So that's what we were doing in a lot of the time period of Joshua. You see, but this is basically the lesson, man. Unless the brothers had any more precepts.
Nah, I don't.
I ain't had no precept. I just wanted to see what Scarlet Ribbon would have represented.
Okay, we can go.
They
We can pull it up.
asked to, I'm gonna
Yeah,
try to see that. I'm looking up in the chat GPT real quick. I'm asking chat.
Well, a lot of
I'm
scriptures
asking,
apply that to having like mercy, meaning like mercy.
yeah, that's what I think. That's what it makes you think of though. Cause I remember
with bread and shit.
you had said it uh it reminds you of the Passover.
The blood on
Cause
doorposts.
yeah, cause scarlet is red, and blood is like dark red. So that's what it made me think about, scarlet, red ribbon, so I'm trying to look it up, but this shit tripping out. So, but it's pretty much, like you said, could pretty much mean like mercy and stuff like that.
Shit,
The
being
blood,
covered, had that covering like Yahweh Shah's blood.
we putting out our scarlet ribbon, Lord's will.
Yeah, that's a through the belief. When you believe on Yahweh Shai, truly and
Yep.
sincerely, and you give forth the right sacrifice, that will lead to Yahweh Shai placing his blood upon you. So that is you having that scarlet or having that blood on your doorpost. Because really, you got to get passed over every day. It ain't no just, oh yeah, it's the Passover day. Nah, you got to get passed over daily. Because Lord can easily cast you out of this spiritual ark. You see, the spiritual ark is likened to this truth and being in the body. So the Lord can easily cast you out of the spiritual ark and then you'll be caught up in all them judgments. So we gotta have one. We want to have that blood on our doorpost daily, because we're all worthy of death within our own works, our means. So we need Yahweh Shai's blood be upon us. But yep, hey,
Uh,
that's all I had, bro. Y'all got anything else, y'all? We good?
now you got it up.
Hey, well, Lord willing, this Joshua chapter 2 edified. We'd like to end it all by saying, Call Halal, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders, great millstone, who root and teach well. Next time, Kwame Shalom.
Shalom.
Shalom.